Shalom. Better air quality than we had this morning. This valley was filled with what looked like fog, but it was actually smoke. And out here, right there is where the fire was. They've gotten it somewhat under control. It's a controlled burn though. They have to get rid of all these dead standing trees, and when the temperatures cool down they burn them. And there was a fire up to the north over here earlier in the week, and there was a fire somewhere just on the other side of this mountain last week, and the one up here was the only one that didn't put so much smoke down in the valley the following morning that it looked like fog. The one over here was the worst as far as how smoky it got in the valley. Couldn't even see this mountain that I'm on now from down there in the valley. But as you can see, I'm shaking. I forgot my phone holder, but I had to go and get some. Here's my holder for today. I had to go to Prescott to get some materials for a job that I'm working on, and I've been wanting to share a dream about, or share all my dreams in a video, and putting it off all week. So I thought what better time. I had to drive up and over the mountain to get materials on the other side, and on the way home I thought I'd stop and share my dreams with you. And I was going to do them in reverse order, but I recently decided that the first one kind of set in order all the ones to follow. So on the 11th, I had a dream that we were in a new house. It was a big house, and there was a lot of people around, and it was kind of it was the only dream out of 10 or 11 that had any kind of stress level. But that's because, you know, we were trying to unpack, and everybody was there to help us put things away and declutter and clean up and get ready for more company coming over. So it was kind of chaotic, and everybody was depending on me. Where does this go? What do you want me to do with this? And that was the only stressful part about it, but it was kind of exciting. It was a new house. Everybody was there to help, and we were preparing for a gathering. And so at one point, somebody comes in, and instead of a dining table, there was a picnic table in the dining room, and put some mail on the table and says, "You got mail." So I went over and browsed through it, and there was something that says lab, important, read immediately. So I opened it up, and I see just one highlighted sentence that says you have 6 months to live. And I just kind of laughed it off and threw it down and went back to doing things. There was so much to do in the dream. And then I thought, you know, I better go look into that and see if that's legit. So I go back over to the picnic table, picked the letter up, and made sure it was addressed to me, and it was, and made sure that's what I read correctly in the highlighted portion, and that's what it said was, you have 6 months to live. And that's when I woke up. And so, you know, it was one of those dreams, all of these were, that were just so real that it takes me a minute to realize that, wow, that was a dream. I'm in bed and it's, you know, still dark. So I laid there and I thought about it, and I thought, you know, it's a good thing that was just a dream, thinking about having 6 months left to live. And I was supposed to go get lab work done, but I still had the lab slip. I never went to the lab and had the blood draw. So that's why I thought about it. And then it suddenly occurred to me, well, what if that was the case? You only had 6 months to live. And two things popped into my mind. And, you know, it wasn't anything about what I wanted to do. It was wanting to finish my invention, for one thing. I've got several inventions that I've kind of put on the back burner these last few years. But one of them I feel is more significant, you know, wants to be my contribution to the world. And that was first thing that I thought of. And the second thing that I thought of was, I want to finish making anchors for everybody, because I started making anchors for people in Gideon's army, and I've only gotten 14 of them finished and given away. but I've got a couple dozen more that, you know, I've got a lot of the material cut, but I haven't done any of the welding. So I thought, you know, those are the two things I wanted to do, was, you know, welding projects, both of them, and finishing them and getting them out, because, you know, I wanted to give, I wanted to contribute to the world. So, you know, and then I kind of have been thinking the rest of that day that that's strange. Those were the two things. I really didn't have a long bucket list for 6 months to live. So the next morning I wake up from a dream, and this one was a wild ride. It was me and two friends, and I never really got to see their faces. I couldn't, you know, define them, or, you know, identify them definitively is what I'm trying to say. But, you know, I felt like it was my friend Chad and then my other friend Dennis that we used to go riding a lot together. Could have been Dallas, but from the level of skill, I would have think, you know, it's probably Chad and Dennis, not Chad and Dallas. So, but we were in the mountains, and we were on curvy mountain roads coming down off the mountain, and traffic was just getting in our way, and get to a hairpin, and if the traffic was backed up in the hairpin, we'd just turn off and go down through the forest, come out 100 cars ahead down lower on the road. And like I say, it was a wild ride, you know, just coming down off the mountain, and nothing was going to stop us, nothing was going to slow us down. We'd make our own path if we had to. And by the time we got to the bottom was when I woke up, you know, and just really exhilarated, adrenaline pumping. The next morning I wake up, and once again it was a new house, and we drive up to the new house, and Jules is all excited. She goes running inside, and I get out of the car, and I'm looking around, and I was just in awe. It's the most beautiful place I ever seen in my life. I mean, it was a lot of red rocks like what you see out in Sedona. There was other cliffs that looked more like Yosemite. There was forest, there was ponds, there was streams. It was just the most incredible place. And I never did go in the house. I remember a vague glimpse of it from the outside and watching her run inside all excited going to see her new house. And I was still fascinated with the outside. And right away I was like designing my disc golf course in my head, you know, where it's going to go. And the next thing I know, there's disc golf being played. There's like a tournament happening. And that's when I woke up, was in the middle of a disc golf tournament. So then the very next morning, we're up to the 14th. This one, I was out shopping and just buying stuff, big stuff like household furniture, appliances. I even went and purchased a bunch of shop equipment and tools. And every time I would buy something, I would tell them the same thing. I'll be back to pick it up. I'll be back to pick it up. And after a whole bunch of running around and shopping and buying all these things and telling them I'll be back to pick it up, I go to another place and I bought a semi. You know, a full 18-wheeler, the big box on the back and everything. And was getting instructions on how to drive it and how to maintain it and so on and so forth. And that's when I woke up, was getting the final instructions and getting ready to leave in my 18-wheeler to go back and pick up everything that I was purchasing, apparently for the new house that we just got. So, you know, these dreams are all just so real, and I wake up and it takes me a minute to realize that, wow, that was just a dream. Okay, the next dream on the 15th was a large gathering. It was all Gideon's Army, and it was all outdoor. It was, you know, just a big festival, and kids were there and grandkids were there, and, you know, it was just a happy, joyous occasion, and so many people there, so much joy, so much happiness, celebration, all outdoors. And then I remember thinking that, you know, it was getting towards the end of the day, and I thought I better get a shower before it gets dark. So I go and I get a change of clothes and everything I need, a towel, and I go into what I thought was the bathroom building. And there was, you know, just as many people in there as there was outside. There was tarps set up, there was furniture, there was conversations going on, there's people singing and dancing, and you know, I thought, well, how am I supposed to take a shower in here with all these people? And that's when I woke up. So then the next day, we're up to the 16th, and I was working for a contractor, and we were traveling around from job to job, and they were teaching me to operate heavy equipment. We were doing foundations and, you know, small foundations for small construction projects and big foundations for big construction projects. And they'd send me ahead and tell me where the next job was, and I would drive there. And the last job was an old filling station on a mountain highway out in the middle of nowhere, and we were supposed to go dig up the old fuel tanks, and so they could set some new fuel tanks in there. And I got there, and I was there first and got to talking with the people, and they told me where the tanks were located, and I started moving anything that was in the way out of the way. The boss shows up with the heavy equipment and, you know, did the excavation in no time, got those tanks out of there. And as we were packing up and getting ready to go to the next job, I asked him, I said, "How come I'm always getting here so much faster than you are?" And he says, "Well, stick with us this time and I'll show you." So we leave that job site, we go into town, and he pulls into this place, and he gets out, puts on a helmet, puts on a racing suit, climbs into this little tiny go-kart. And I mean, this was a big, strong guy, probably like, you know, over 6 feet tall, probably about 6'4", 6'3", close to 300 pounds, big, strong guy, climbing into this little tiny go-kart, big smile on his face, and says, "You better get ready." And that's when I woke up. And then the next morning, I didn't sleep good at all, and on the 17th, I didn't have a dream. But I thought it was kind of significant that I dreamed significant dreams like this 6 days in a row, and on the 7th day I rested. So then on the 18th, let's see, oh, okay, this dream, if any of them come true, I hope it'd be this one. I dreamed that I woke up in the morning, got up, went into the kitchen, and this was a kitchen, dining, living room area that was all one big room. And it was so big, it's probably as big as our whole house combined as far as square footage. And I'm thinking that I got to be quiet because I don't want to wake up my brother downstairs. Now, I got one brother that's still in Colorado, and he hasn't been down here in 4.5 years, so we occasionally talk to him on the phone, maybe exchange a text, but we hardly ever see him or hear from him. And he's the closest to me in age. He's 13 months older than I am. So I'm thinking, you know, I don't want to wake him up. He's downstairs. I'll be quiet. Polly and I are just, you know, I'm having my morning coffee, and Polly gets excited and acting like she wants to go outside. So I thought, okay, let's go outside. And I go over to a door and open it up for Polly to go outside. It opens up into a covered patio area that was, once again, square footage bigger than the house that I'm in. And it was a covered patio with an outdoor kitchen. There stands my brother and my mother, and he's fixing a big old breakfast, scrambled eggs, sausage, bacon, toast, pancakes, anything you can name it. And he's got it piled all up, and he's still cooking. My mom's standing there talking to him, and I look around, and, you know, everybody's there. My family, Jules' family, Gideon's army, you know, and I still was excited that, you know, my brother's here. So I was trying to spend time with him. And in this covered patio area, there was booths, you know, like you had to have at a restaurant with the 2 bench seats and a table in between. And I went and sat down in a booth with them and ate my breakfast. And then when I finished my breakfast, I looked down and I noticed there was pine needles all around my feet. And so I bent down and I'm scooping up all these pine needles and getting them into a pile and picked them up, put them on my paper plate, and I looked, and where's my brother? I don't see him. So I take the paper plate and the pine needles and I go over and I throw it away, and I look out beyond the patio area, and there's a swimming pool. There's my brother and my mother sitting out there on the edge of the swimming pool. They're in lounge chairs, sunshine, early in the morning, nice, warm, beautiful day, still surrounded by, you know, family and friends, and everybody just happy and joyous and having good fellowship and good food. And that's when I woke up. And like I say, if any of these dreams come true, that'd be top of my list. So then yesterday, Of course, this one would be pretty good too. You know, it seems like that last memory of the dream when I wake up is the significant part, because that memory and holding on to that memory is what ties me back into the memory of the dream. Otherwise, they're hard to remember. So when I woke up on the 18th, or no, the 19th, yesterday morning, the words that came out of my mouth were Polar Bear Polly. Because once again, I'm at an outdoor gathering, and there's people everywhere. It's a very festive, happy, joyous place. And all of a sudden, a polar bear comes wandering in. And I thought, nobody's scared of that polar bear. That polar bear doesn't seem to be aggressive. And, you know, like I would for any dog or any pet, you know, it's like I want to go over and say hi and give him some love. And I did. I went over and said hi to this polar bear, and I'm petting it and loving on it. And it just fell in love with me. It was loving on me and rubbing on me. And when I was done petting it, started to walk away, just like a small dog or a cat running around, cutting me off. No, you're not going anywhere. You're not done yet. Pet me some more. Polly, get over here. She's wandering off while I'm talking about her. So, you know, this polar bear just fell in love with me. It was attached to me. Followed me everywhere, constant wanting attention, wanting loving, wanting to be pet. And then at the end of the dream, the polar bear lays down, and I lay down on top of it like a big old beanbag chair, and was just running my fingers through this long, soft fur and looking at the color of the fur, and I thought, wow, that's not even white. And that's when I realized it's the same color as Polly, kind of an off-white, almost a yellowish color. And that's when I woke up saying, Polar Bear Polly, because out of all the pets I've ever had in my life, she's probably the smallest. Come here, baby girl. She's probably the smallest pet that I've ever had, but she probably loves me more than all the other ones put together. I've never been loved so much by a little animal than this thing right here. So, that's Polar Bear Polly. Then this morning's dream. The only thing I wrote down was camping caravan. It was all of Gideon's army. There was dozens of vehicles, campers, RVs, boats, trailers, and we were going from one national park to the next national park, and we'd stay at each one for a few days, and each location was the same thing. It was happy, it was festive, it was joyous, there was music playing, there was food everywhere you went, there was activities everywhere, there was children playing, and you know, just never a dull moment everywhere you went. And from one national park to the next, you know, just beautiful places to be, like the house that we had. That was just the most beautiful place that I never even went inside to see the house. It was so beautiful. And those were the kind of places where this camping caravan was going. And just like gypsies, we'd stay there a few days and we'd celebrate and pack up and move to the next location. So in one of these moving from location to location, Jules and I were in a small SUV, and everybody else was in bigger, you know, RVs and motorhomes and stuff, and we were having trouble with the river crossing. And somebody yelled out, "You want an upgrade in size?" And I just kind of laughed and said, "Yeah, that'd be wonderful." Next thing I know, just boom, we're in a larger SUV. We didn't struggle with that river crossing at all. We get to the next place, we set up our tent, we set up our camp, we're there for a few days, and this was next to a river. And at the end of the dream, I remember going over to the river and thinking, God, that's just so beautiful, it's so clean and quiet and you know, inviting. And I started rock hopping from rock to rock, getting out into the river. And I stopped on this one rock and I looked at the water. It looked like about 3 feet deep of water that was moving, you know, not real fast, you know, maybe 5-10 miles an hour, steady current, but not real fast. And I just dove in and went underwater and turned up and just kind of floated to the top, and then it kind of took me, because I dove in upstream, and then it kind of took me back the other way that I came. And that's when I woke up, was as I was looking around and seeing the view starting to float downstream with my face up. And I was just so relaxed and so comfortable and so, you know, like I said, the water just looked so inviting. When I told Jules that this morning, that was the most amazing part out of all this to her, because she knows me, I'm a landlubber. you know, every time she goes swimming, I'm like, no, that's okay, go ahead. You know, it's just, I'm a landlubber. I'm not much of a water person. The last time I was out on a boat, it took 2 days for the muscles in my back to let go because, you know, my muscles just tense up when I'm out on water or in water. I swim better underwater than I do on the water. I don't know what it is, but she was amazed. So that was the biggest miracle to her, was that I dove into a river and decided to swim downstream in the current of the river. But, you know, all of these dreams, my bucket list was short. It had 2 things on there, but, you know, I think God was trying to show me and continuing to trying to show me that, like 45 keeps telling us, the best is yet to come. You can bank it. Take it to the bank. And if the best is yet to come, that's going to be pretty good because, you know, glory to God. We're praising God, giving Him thanks every day for everything and every way. Giving thanks for you. Thanks for tuning in. Shalom. The next video will be about unity. We are one in Christ. Amen. Shalom.